In a small village nestled along the mighty Ogun River in western Nigeria, there lived a young man named Adewale. His name meant, "The crown has come home," but his life felt far from royal. Adewale was an orphan, living in a small mud hut with a roof that leaked during the heavy rains. His only inheritance was a deep love for the river and a dream to become a fisherman like his father. But Adewale had nothing. No canoe to glide on the water, no net to cast into the depths, not even a simple hook and line. He would sit on the bank, his toes digging into the wet earth, watching the silver scales of the fish glint in the sun, his stomach growling with a constant, empty ache. The river was a treasure chest, but he had no key. One afternoon, as desperation gnawed at him, he noticed a sturdy canoe pulled onto the shore. It belonged to Baba Femi, a well-known fisherman in the village. Baba Femi was not a cruel man, but he was a practical one, focused on his own catch and his own family. As he loaded his nets, Adewale found the courage to approach him. "Baba Femi," he said, his voice barely a whisper over the river's flow. "I have no tools, but my arms are strong and my heart is willing. Let me help you pull your nets. In return, please, just give me a few fish so I may not sleep hungry." Baba Femi looked at the skinny boy, his ribs showing through his skin. He saw the hope burning in Adewale's eyes, a hope that had not yet been extinguished by hardship. He sighed. "All right, boy. Get in. But remember, you work for what you earn." Adewale's heart soared. He jumped into the canoe, and for the first time, felt the water beneath him not as a barrier, but as a path. He worked harder than he had ever worked in his life. His muscles burned as he helped haul the heavy nets, teeming with wriggling, silvery life. He cleaned the fish without being asked and mended a small tear in the net with deft fingers. At the end of the day, Baba Femi looked at the impressive catch and then at the exhausted but hopeful boy. Instead of giving him a share of the fish, Baba Femi reached into his pocket and pulled out a few small, 1 coins. "Here," he said, placing them in Adewale's palm. "This is your pay." Adewale was confused. "But Baba, I thought, a few fish." "Money is better," Baba interrupted. "You can buy what you want." But Adewale knew the coins were too few to buy even the smallest fishing line. Still, he was grateful. It was something days turned into weeks. Adewale worked tirelessly, from sunrise until the moon painted a silver path on the water. But Baba Femi, seeing the boy had no other options, began to give him less and less. The generous handfuls of coins shrank to a few pennies. Adewale's hope began to waver, replaced by a heavy feeling of being trapped. "Baba Femi," Adewale would complain, his voice trembling as he held out the meager payment. "This is not enough for a meal of beans, let alone to save for a net. Please, I have worked since the first cockcrow." But Baba Femi would simply shrug, his face becoming like a stone. "That is the pay, boy. If you do not want it, someone else will." He would then turn his back and busy himself with his boat, ending the conversation. Adewale felt a knot of frustration tighten in his chest. He was caught in a current he could not escape. He needed the pennies to survive, but they would never let him thrive. He was using his hands to build another man's wealth while his own dreams dried up like a puddle in the dry season. He felt less like a fisherman and more like a slave to the river. One evening, the sky turned the color of bruised fruit. Dark, heavy clouds rolled in, and the wind began to howl, whipping the river into a frenzy. Baba Femi, fearing for his canoe, quickly pulled it to safety and hurried home, leaving Adewale to seek his own shelter. As Adewale ran towards his hut, the rain began to fall in thick, blinding sheets. Through the downpour, he saw a figure struggling by the riverbank. An elderly man, dressed in simple but well-made clothes, was trying to pull a small, ornate chest from the mud where his cart had gotten stuck. The wheels were sunk deep, and the man was straining, slipping in the mud, unable to free it. Without a second thought, Adewale rushed to his aid. "Uncle, let me help you," he shouted over the roar of the storm. He put his strong, young shoulders to the task, pushing and heaving alongside the old man. With a great, sucking sound, the cart came free. But as it did, the chest fell, bursting open. Inside were not goods or food, but wooden tablets covered in beautiful, intricate carvings, the old man's life's work. Quickly, before they are ruined, the old man cried. Adewale, ignoring the rain soaking him to the bone, carefully gathered each tablet, wiping the mud from them and placing them gently back into the chest. He then helped the old man push the cart all the way to a dry, steady shelter at the edge of the village. Under the shelter, the old man caught his breath. He looked at Adewale, not with pity, but with deep respect. The boy was shivering, covered in mud, but he had saved the old man's most precious possessions. "You have the strength of the river in you, young man," the old man said, his voice calm and wise. "And a heart of gold. I am Adewale, a master carver from the great city of Ilefe. You have saved my work, which is the story of our people. I am in your debt. Tell me, what is it that you desire? Ask, and if it is within my power, it shall be yours." Adewale looked down at his muddy, calloused hands. This was the moment he had dreamed of. He could ask for money, for fine clothes, for a big house. But when he opened his mouth, his true heart spoke. "Honorable Adewale began, his voice clear and strong. I am a fisherman. It is all I have ever been and all I wish to be. But I have no tools. I work for another, earning pennies that cannot buy me a future. My desire is not for a gift of fish, but for the means to catch my own. I need money to buy a canoe, nets, and hooks. I want to stand on my own feet and feed myself with the work of my own hands." Adewale listened, his eyes twinkling. He saw the honesty and the pride in the young man. He saw a king of the river who just hadn't found his kingdom yet. He smiled a wide, generous smile. "A fisherman you are, and a fisherman you shall be. But not just any fisherman. You will be the best on this river." Adewale gave Adewale not just enough for a simple canoe and net, but enough to buy the finest equipment in the market. He bought a sleek, sturdy canoe, strong nets woven with the best fiber, and sharp, gleaming hooks. When Adewale launched his own canoe for the first time, the village watched in awe. Baba Femi stood on the shore, his mouth agape, a mixture of shame and surprise on his face. Adewale did not gloat. He simply nodded at Baba, turned, forgiving but not forgetting. He paddled out into the river, cast his new net, and pulled in a catch so large it seemed the river itself was rewarding his good heart and perseverance. He became known as the best fisherman from Ogun to the sea, not just for his skill, but for his generosity. And the villagers would tell the story of Adewale, the boy who fished with his hands, whose kindness in a storm finally brought his crown home, proving that a good heart is the greatest net of all, capable of catching even the most elusive dreams.